When the short story Rippazine number 4, Catch and Kill, was announced, I wasn't that excited about it. I felt very meh about it, but I was still going to get it. Now before I spoil everything, let me give my quick non-spoiler opinion on it first. The story involves Betty Brooke getting teamed up with Winslow Valiant to investigate this big story Winslow is working on. Winslow, who has a big secret, is someone who works alone and prefers it that way. He's someone who goes into where no one else dares go to get the story. We get told and we see some of the corruption going on in the media with a couple of characters we've seen before in other books, trying not to let a big story out that would ruin them. Betty Brooke is someone who also has a big secret up her sleeve and also is not afraid to go into dangerous areas. Both of them go on this investigation only to find horrible truths going behind the scenes of Valor Outreach and Aztec. We learned enough of these two to keep me wanting to know more, especially Betty and her past involving the Wastelands. I thought this was written very well, especially for a short story. It's like 16 pages. There's not any action in this story, so don't go thinking you'll get, a 4 or 5 page action scene. This is an investigative thriller and it worked. Now, if there is a full-length book, I do hope to get some action in there, but obviously make it work for the characters, of course. And, overall, I do recommend this story to those who haven't read it. And also, you can even find previews of other books and interviews amongst other things in these Rippazines as well. You can unlock the free Rippazine actually if you subscribe to the lowest MAC tier at Rippaverse.com. And, you get perks as well. Now, let's go ahead and get into the story breakdown. In this affluent city of Flores Park, Texas, there's super cops, there's the accepts for hire, there's the corruption within the police force, and so on and so forth. But one thing we haven't gotten a story of is of the media. Journalists trying to get the scoop in a world where folks who have the ability to kill them in an instant? Sure, I'll give it a shot. But every now and then, you get folks who aren't afraid to go where people don't dare go. Here's where you meet Winslow Valiant, a reporter for the Flores Park Star. One night he goes to meet one of his contacts named Mickey, who is homeless, and Winslow asks for a few of the other guys that are usually there with Mickey. Mickey tells him that they're gone, they were taken. This is where we find out what Winslow's story is about. There's a charity called Valor Outreach who is supposed to be helping out veterans, but unfortunately those vets that go and get help, they tend not to come back, they just disappear. This is why Winslow is on the move with this story and why he wants to know why Aztec, a pharmaceutical company, is backing Valor Outreach. The next day, Winslow arrives at the office and it turns out he's not well liked. He gets called in by his boss to find out he's got a new partner. She will be assisting Winslow on this investigation. Now, Betty is someone who has read Winslow's work and is very much looking forward to working with him. Winslow is taken aback by Betty's beauty and the fact that she believes him as a reporter. He looks forward to be working with her as well. We also see that Winslow has a bad reputation, and Winslow's boss pretty much tells Betty to be careful because apparently Winslow has a habit of leaving his partners in the dark and ruining others' credibility. Both Winslow and Betty go off, and while in the elevator, Betty shows him a picture of the one and only Chadran. Turns out the reason that she was in the Wastelands was to find proof of Chadran's existence, but unfortunately the picture was dubbed a fake, and she was as well. By Betty showing Winslow this, she has now earned Winslow's trust. But it makes me wonder, what the hell is Chadran doing in the Wastelands? And I'm curious if we will see Chadran before ISOM 4. Part of me hopes that he does make an appearance in the Great War of Separation, either number 3 or 4, but I digress. Later that night, a cop on the police force notifies Winslow that they found one of the guys that Winslow was asking Mickey about, Big Red. Turns out two cops unloaded their magazines on Red, killing him. The cops say that Red was an accept who began attacking people downtown. And this is where we find out that Winslow himself is an accept. In the inner dialogue, he says that he would have known if Red was one of us. Red would have said something about it, and Winslow's pretty confident about it. Talking about Winslow for a bit, I think his powers don't have to do with him being able to fly or have super strength or shoot laser beams out of his eyes or anything like that. His power is that there's a type of charisma or charm to him that he uses. You'll see what I mean in a bit. So they go to the coroner's office to check out Red. They see his eyes are off. They went from green eyes to black, and he was injected with something. So whatever he was injected with, that's what caused Red to go berserk. We then get inner monologue from Betty as they're driving, and this is where we find out some of Betty's secret. Turns out she's been injecting herself with injections that can alter her genetic makeup. She has been doing this ever since the accidents in the wastelands. She wonders if Winslow could ever trust her. It makes me wonder if Winslow himself thinks he's a monster as well. Maybe he feels guilty about what's happened with the other journalists by essentially destroying their credibility and possibly even their careers. They arrive at a diner, and Winslow pays off a janitor that works at Aztec for his ID to get into the place, and they decide to sneak in that very same night. Now, this is what I mean by Winslow having a charm to him. Betty feels good around Winslow. Like I said, she trusts him. A part of Winslow's ability is to make friends. I don't think he can mind control people though. It's not anything flashy, but it can be useful, especially in journalism. As they're pretending to be janitors looking for clues, we get our villains, and it's none other than Michael Copper and Lillian Ronashi. This is where we find out that Lillian is frustrated because she wants her own Brian Solari. As you probably know, Brian wasn't born with abilities. He volunteered for a program where if you were selected, you go through a series of painful therapies to unlock these abilities. And Michael and Lillian began experimenting with homeless veterans who think people wouldn't notice if they were gone. Winslow and Betty overhear this and decide to book it. Betty is wondering if it is even possible to make another Brian. This makes me then wonder, during the war did all the doctors involved die and they lost all the research in the process? Or was it all just top secret and only a few folks knew how to make XFs? Might be the latter, since in Gooding they made Splatterpuss. I might need to revisit that part in Gooding. Makes me curious how the Great War of Separation series will end. Anyways, while in the elevator, they end up going all the way down to the sub-basement, and it turns out Mickey is in there in the lab chair. He had gotten injected with whatever they gave Big Red. Mickey begins transforming into a monster and starts screaming in excruciating pain while screaming at Winslow for help, and this is where we see Betty's power. She takes off her glove and grabs Mickey's hand, and just by the touch of Betty, she kills Monster Mickey, delivering him from his pain, and well, of course, this kills Betty on the inside. Winslow and Betty get the proof, they get pictures of Mickey, but unfortunately the story will never go public, because back at the office, Michael Copper's news media company buys the story and shelves it, of course. Winslow's boss told him that it would be the last story any one of them ever did, and Michael leaves with a smile on his face thinking he's won. Turns out Michael and Lillian own Aztec as well, but Betty and Winslow vowed to make them pay for what they have done, and it is left with to be continued. Like I said, this was a nice short read that made me want to know where these characters go. Will Winslow tell Betty that he's an XSEP soon? In the upcoming Michael Copper book, will we see him talk about Aztec and what they're up to? Guess we'll see what happens. This is where I'll go ahead and end the video, but let me know what you guys thought of this story if you've read it. Did I leave anything out that maybe I missed? Let me know in the comment section, and I will go ahead and see y'all in the next one. Take care, y'all.